Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols duly observed. My name is Aisha Sambo, and I'm a creative director and an artist as a whole. And I'm so honored today to be giving this short poetry piece that I had some help developing. I work with a team of very intelligent creatives in Nigeria, and so I would like to start. The title of this piece is called A Rose, a Flower. Can I say that taking a shot at this is me being really bold? Because you know, long stories are not the easiest to be told. A summary might hardly do justice to the details that they hold, but here I am to let you see how this story would unfold. I begin this tale as a story of two entities, one a nation, the other a political personality. For at some point in between each of their stories, their plots intertwine and become as one. Of Ibrahim Babangida and the nation Nigeria. For the true story of one of these two are incomplete without mentioning the name of the other. Permit me to rewind to 17th of August 1941, on the day we find a fine little boy born to Mohammed Badamasi and Inna Aisha Babangida. Tell me, did his father know that this little boy would grow to make the family name resound in so many ways far beyond Minna, on the TV screens and on the radio shows, to the country's power seat that many would yell his name? From the midwife's army, when his mother received him, did she somehow perceive that she had given birth to an embodiment of a fighter spirit? One that would sort to find a place in the nation's history. Let us jump to 1963. A country 3 years young and free from colonial masters' grip, marking the milestone of her first republic, 1963. A young officer in his 20s attends the Indian Military Academy and receives his personal number for the army. 1967, a significant year for the country when peace left town and war broke out. Military training of IBB and others come in handy. Led a battalion, led an army. He gets wounded in an enemy fire so heavy after recovery, back to the war zone he was heading. After the war, the story of the nation at this point was one flung into the hands of military coup. A time when the country shook. I doubt at the time the generals knew, or maybe they did, that if there was some mystic story writer typing this story, all these events would be meant to deliberately tilt the nation's plot towards civic rule. Among many other names, Ibrahim Babangida rings a bell, instrumental to the many of the structures that would come to tell stories of Nigeria we all know so well. Being a genius at watching and planning, here Nigeria meets a man with great vision of all that she could be. And this we grow to see in his efforts that are still vital elements running through her bloodstream. Dear Baba IBB, as I like to call him, served as a midwife for the birth of many Nigerian states, or the draftsman, you may say, that drew more regions out of the Nigerian canvas. 1987, Akwa Ibom and Katsina. 1991, Abia, Delta, Yobe, Enugu, and Jigawa. Kogi, Kebbi, Osun, and Taraba. Also, Lagos, bustling with economic activity, but her expanding population was far from healthy. See, he and his team led the relocation of government seats from Lagos to Abuja, the current FCT. Let us rewind to the days our country fought in other zones. The Nigerian troops in Liberia and Sierra Leone, fighting for our sister country, like their troubles were our very own. A time of uprising and downturns. Hasn't Nigeria had enough of her share? If I say this phrase, that every rose comes with its thorns, you'd nod and say yes. I guess I'd say it in this way, that in this story, like every story, some held the stalk so thorny, while others perceived the scent of the rose. Many might misunderstand a rose for its thorn, but the rose flower has never gotten extinct. Daily, we are learning that it might be problematic to reach certain goals. All right, I think the mic is back up. Our apologies for that short disruption. I shall just carry on from my last two sentences. So daily, we are learning that it might be problematic to reach certain goals if we are all people pleasers. The doggedness would help you run long meters, so it might be impractical to seek picture-perfect leaders. But to seek those who are ready for service, and those who can dare to put down structures that would outlive them, to seek tree planters that the world at large is suffering from a climate crisis, and a tree planted to serve many generations is priceless. I keep up with the story, but do not worry. War and coups are not all there is to his story. There is no one too tough who cannot be softened by love. So thank you to Mama Elaimi, MARYAM, for walking into his life, for being the best wife, mother, and friend. Over the years that followed, together, these two traveled down long roads, impacted their worlds fearless and bold. They ran the show, a match made in heaven, and they both never were to stand alone. MARYAM created and filled the role of First Lady, setting the tone for many to come after her. She launched several programs that impacted many Africans. The Better Life program for rural women that is ever so greatly impactful and continues to touch people's lives, making measurable change. Through his reign as Commander-in-Chief has long ended. Nigeria today still stands on many of the institutions that IBB founded. Well-rounded institutions in many sectors: insurance and communication, broadcasting and elections, NDIC, NCC, NAFDAC, and CAC. The Presidential Villa, International Conference Center, the bridge on Third Mainland, airports in Minna and Katsina. Policies of foreign exchange, those on agriculture, initiatives in steel, energy, and the gas sector, urban mass transit, national reconstruction, structural adjustment program for rational foreign exchange allocation. Can I just pause? Because this man is on fire. And I urge you all to stand with me in applause of the genius that is IBB. 5 minutes is too short to give justice to all the milestones. But see, no one knows Nigeria so intimately like a man who intricately wove many parts of her whole. Being there through her growths, her highs and lows, from colonialism to the complexities of post-independence, the Civil War and all its effects, can anyone fully comprehend the way he does? Now, we reflect on ways to rebuild this country, coin new ways to manage and redesign the economy, to learn and unlearn. No one might fully grasp it, like a man who has many chapters in his life, interlaced with Nigerians' identity. Like a playwright, someone planned it. To create policies and make decisions is so brave. It takes a lot of grit and courage, and we never really know for sure if all our efforts and seeds we plant would sprout much more than we expected. But how will we know if we never try? And so my message and final word is that just like IBB, we continue to try. Thank you.
Please put your hands together again for her. It's not easy to talk about someone who is larger than life. At this point, I'd like to quickly bring in the next moderator of the second panel. And that panel is about vision, foresight, rebuilding a new Nigeria. Panelists include Professor Samuel Bare, Alhaji Amadu Abubakar, Professor Adeleji Nadu, Senator David Mark, Her Excellency Alhaja Sinatu Ojikutu, and of course, Colonel Olagunsoye Oyinlola, retired. But before I bring them in, I'll need to bring in the one and only Uncle Chidi, as I call him, journalist extraordinaire, and I would like to please bring him in now as the moderator of the next panel. Please put your hands together for Dr. Chidi Amuta. Dr. Amuta, you may just take your seat.
Well, as I said, our business on this panel is straightforward. After the first panel, which dealt essentially with the more personal aspects of this great story, we are now going into the more engaging parts. And the brochures you have the resumes of the panelists. So I'm not going to bother with reading everybody's citation because we are short of time. Everybody on this panel is a very distinguished Nigerian. There's nobody here who needs, you don't need reminding about who Senator David Mark is, who Alhaja is. So we'll go straight to the point. But by way of general remarks, we are dealing with a great historical personality, almost a personage, somebody who has become an icon, who has become a personage of pilgrimage. Whether you are a politician, you need to pay homage to IBB. If you're a businessman, you need to pay homage. If you are an intellectual. And for me, as an individual, the central appeal of IBB is that and I have encountered a number of leaders, not just in Nigeria, but elsewhere in the world. He is one leader whom I have found intellectually engaging. Somebody who has aroused intellectual curiosity. Why did he do what he had to do? And talking about the issue of his vision, his mission, you cannot talk about a vision if you don't even have an understanding of where the leader was standing. I mean, it is easy, relatively easy to be a leader, to do the usual things. What I call, you can be a president of ordinary things.
They gave you here. Yes.
But for you to be a leader that excites the curiosity of your countrymen, it means that you want to take your nation from a point to another point. To illustrate this, it's been 28 years since President Babangida left office. Today, as we prepare for the 2023 elections, there are effectively two parties. The contest is between the APC and the PDP. But 28 years ago, somebody had the foresight, the vision, to summarize the Nigerian political equation, to say, at the end of the day, we will always end with two parties. Today, most of the people in this room are engaged in the business of running their own businesses, running their own lives. 28 years ago, the business of Nigeria was run by the government, essentially. Everything was a national institution. If you wanted to import, if you wanted shipping, if you wanted to fly in Nigeria, you had to go to Nigeria Airways. Today, 28 years after, you get to the airport, for as long as you have your money, you can catch a flight in a private airline. 28 years ago, that is not wasn't there. Somebody envisioned it. So you need, in order to understand the vision, you need to go back in time to that point at which some decisions were made. And therefore, I want us on this panel to deal with aspects of that vision that has brought the nation to where it is today. There may have been deformations, misalignments by subsequent regimes, but I mean, the responsibility for that is for those who took on these jobs, not for the original visionary. Therefore, there are three areas of the vision and mission that I would like us to look at. First, there will be another panel on the economy, but the economy, for somebody to wake up and decide, along with his team, that Nigeria needed to move away from being a centrally planned economy to a free market economy, is a significant step. That is one aspect of the vision. For somebody to wake up and say, okay, although we are a democracy, but we needed to organize this democracy in such a way that there is greater freedom, but there is also order, and have two political parties, so that the question of choice is easier for our people. And if you look at all the major democracies of the world, at the end of the day, they gravitate around two major political parties. If you're an American, you're either a Democrat or you're a Republican. You can be anything else that you like, but you are not going to win. If you are in England, you're either a Tory or Labour. You can be something else by attaching yourself to one of the main ones. So essentially, 28 years ago, somebody saw that. The third aspect is the society. Somebody looked at the society and said, well, we are going to have free enterprise, which is going to produce a lot of rich people. But in the process, we're also going to have a lot of poor people. What do we do to mitigate? What kind of society? Maybe we need to have, instead of a society where some things are free or is controlled by the rich, let's have a fair society. And somebody came up with institutions for poverty alleviation, institutions for rural empowerment, institutions for gender empowerment, and so on and so forth. So these are the three major aspects of the IBB vision that I would urge members of this panel to address. In no particular order. And of course, this also went with a lot of institution building. And people have made references to certain institutions that we have today, whether it is the Nigeria Deposit Insurance, NAFDAC, NDLEA, the three arms of the security, the organization of the military, building of modern barracks, name it. The major institutions that govern our lives today were instituted by the IBB administration. So I would like us to deal with this. And this visioning didn't concentrate on any one aspect. IBB realized that we have a nation that is a diversity. We have all kinds of people. The management of diversity is the central problem we are having up till now. But he didn't have a problem with diversity. Every Nigerian was welcome because the best in all of us was summoned to national duty. Whether you were a soldier or a market woman, you had a right to participate in discussion, in debate about how the nation was going to be run. Women in the marketplaces debated IMF, and some of the most bright views came from those women. People in the barber's shop debated the political bureau and how many parties we should have. That inclusiveness is what we are talking about in building a multi-ethnic society. So I would like to start with Senator David Mark. What was IBB's vision for the military, an institution to which you owe most of your career, even though you became a politician later on? But
let me first tell you how I found myself on this panel and here today. I had the text message, and at the end of the text message, the person said, "My name is Aisha Babangida." The text message was, "I've been trying to get hold of you, and I can't get hold of you." And I received so many text messages from fake people. And I said to myself, this is another fake Aisha Babangida again. What's all this? But I summoned up courage, and then I phoned. And lo and behold, she was the correct person. So she said, "Oh, we're doing something for daddy. It's a small thing. He doesn't want a big thing. We just have panel discussions for Thursday." And I said, "Thursday?" Then she said, no, please. I don't want to hear a no for an answer. I said, this is another MARYAM Babangida. Very assertive, very persuasive. So I was trying to give an excuse that this Thursday is not convenient for me, but she didn't even allow me to land. So that's how I found myself here. I served under General Babangida and President Babangida in 3 different capacities. First, as the governor of Niger State, that was under General Babangida because he was Chief of Army Staff then. For the avoidance of doubt, a military posting as a governor is purely a military posting. The person in charge is the Chief of Army Staff, not the head of state and not the Chief of Staff Spring Quarters. General Babangida was the Chief of Army Staff when I was posted to Niger State as a governor. And then I became a member of the Armed Forces Ruling Council when he became the president, and also a minister of communication when he became president. That's why I said in 3 different capacities under General Babangida and President Babangida. I listened to all that was said there this morning about his kindness, his human endeavor, his approach to the way he related with people. General Babangida knew those of us, at least in the army, just as much as our parents. He would wonderfully phone you one day and remind you of your wife's birthday. And most of us would just forget. He knew the names of our children. He knew what our interests were. He knew who our friends were. I'll just give you a very short story. When he was Chief of Army Staff, he visited me in Niger State. And I was taking him back. He was driving in my car. I had a driver called Kekere who used to dress in Babangida 3-piece, and I would dress in shirt and trousers. So when we get to a function, he will come out very quickly and be hovering around, being the big man, and people will go to him and say, "Are you David Mark?" Then he will reluctantly say, "No, he's not the one." So Kekere was driving us back to the Hilton. And he asked me, he said, sir, did you say you are going to put my name in the names of those to be retired very soon? That's the driver asking me. And Babangida was in the car with me. I said, yes. He said, sir, have I committed any serious offense, or is it the small lies that I tell? You know? And General Babangida couldn't stop laughing. So I told him, Kekere, shut up. He said, yes, sir. But Babangida heard the story. We dropped the general, and then we got back. And next day, General Babangida phoned me and said, Oga David, don't retire Kekere. So I said, okay, I will not put his name among those to be retired. As a president, and when I went to Niger State, by the way, Niger State at that time had the largest number of generals in the army. General Abdul Salami, General Vasa, General Duba, General Kontogora, Air Marshal Issa Doko, and the host of them. So they were pulling me left, right, forward, and back. This general will phone you about one person, another general will phone you about the same person, both of them going in opposite directions. But General Babangida stood by me. He will always say, whatever decision you take, it is the final. Don't mind the other generals. Although I had friends amongst them, closer friends, who were defending me from time to time. But the point I'm trying to make is, once he gave you an appointment, he allowed you to take the decisions and take responsibilities for your decisions. When I became Minister of Communications, I went to him one day and I said, look, Nitel is going to die unless we do something drastic. People were owing so much. Government officials were not paying their bills. Nitel was being subsidized by government every month, giving certain amount of money to be able to pay salary. And I found that very strange for a telecommunication company, the only one that had monopoly. So I went to him and said, sir, the way Nitel is going, it will die. But I want government officials to pay their telephone bills and on time. And I want to start with Dodam Barracks. He said, Dodam Barracks. I said, yes, sir. He said, okay. I brought the bill and I said, can I give you 1 week? He said, no, we can pay it within few hours. So I said, okay. If you don't pay tomorrow, I will cut off all the lines leading to Dodam Barracks. Of course, I did cut the line. And people went to him and said, you trust David Mark? He wants to conduct a coup and he's cutting Dodam Barracks lines. And he didn't say a word. He was just looking. Thank God, Salami was there. So he went to him and said, this boy will not do a coup without telling me. It's not a coup. So they paid their bill. And of course, immediately after that, other departments started paying bill. And he told me, after all, he said, look, let Nitel function. Let Nitel fund herself. Let Nitel not depend on government to collect money to pay salary. And by the time I was leaving the ministry after 18 months, Nitel did not only fund herself, Nitel was able to build 2 earth stations from internally generated revenue by government officials paying the bills which they were owing. Babangida established so many organizations, as you heard in the morning here, so many bodies, so many institutions. Those were all visions that moved this country forward. Federal Road Safety Corps. Today we enjoy a Federal Road Safety Corps. Raw Materials Research Institute, NDLEA, as you heard also the intelligence communities. So he had a lot of vision for this country. And how did he achieve this? He had a formidable team, real formidable team. He had intellectuals and practitioners. He had strategists and tacticians. And he had in the military we call staff officers and operational officers. And he was able to bring them together. If you attended any meeting with him, he allowed people with extreme views to express themselves, and he allowed the moderates to express themselves. But what baffled me most was how he was able to pick all these people and put them together. And not only that, but in the course of the discussions, he was able to moderate to get the best out of them. So there are a lot of institutions that he established, and he wanted these institutions to grow, even to make sure that the democratic system was okay and was all right. And like you rightly pointed out, he insisted that there should be two main democratic parties, the National Democratic Party and the SDP and the NRC. And if people, there was a lot of pressure on him to get more than that, but he insisted, for those who were close to him, we knew that he insisted that at best there will only be two parties. That vision is still on today, and like you rightly pointed out, any other third party in the country today is, well, just come and let us do. But not that they were going to win, and they don't have a chance at all.